We have with us today Dr. Vidya Yeravrekar, who is the Principal Director of the Symbiosis Society. Welcome to our show, Dr. Vidya. My question to you is, can you give us some insights about the holistic approach of the Symbiosis Society towards education?
Symbiosis was founded by my father, Dr. S.B. Muzumdar, in 1971. In fact, it started as a small organization in our house uh, because it was established for the welfare of foreign students who came to the city of Pune to do their higher education. So my father was a professor of botany in Ferguson College, and he was also the warden of the boys' hostel of the college. And he realized that when foreign students were here in Pune, they faced a lot of problems of food, accommodation, homesickness, and several other problems. And he, along with his few friends, decided to start an organization for the welfare of these foreign students who came here. So I remember as a small child that if a foreign student lost his passport or maybe just felt homesick, he would come and stay with us. So I've practically lived in a house where there was a student from Ethiopia who wasn't well, so my mother nursed him, or a student from Iran who simply felt homesick and wanted to be with the family. So much so that my mother learned Persian and she can speak fluent Persian because in the 1970s there were a lot of Iranian students who came to Pune to study, and even now she speaks fluent Persian with them. I know a little bit of Arabic, so students coming from the Gulf feel quite comfortable if I talk to them in Arabic. So our whole family has been, just passionate about symbiosis as a word which means living for the benefit of each other. So foreign students and internationalization as such is extremely close to our heart. So if you look at in Symbiosis, there are students from 85 different countries, over 3,000 foreign students, and students from all states of India. So I think this is the best part of Symbiosis. It's a multicultural, multidisciplinary university, and therefore I think even Indian students who come here find that it's a cosmopolitan environment which actually builds their personalities into better human beings and almost becoming like global citizens.
Symbiosis alumni have performed extraordinarily well all over the globe. Now, what kind of a quality of education do you bring to Symbiosis, and is there any innovation which the Symbiosis as an institution has incorporated into the education system?
So Symbiosis always looks at industry needs. So if you look at our programs, they're all need-based programs. So over the years, for example, when the economy was liberated, we started the Symbiosis Institute of Foreign Trade, which is now called the Symbiosis Institute of International Business. We started institutes like the Symbiosis Institute of Geoinformatics, which no one ever thought of. The recent one is the Symbiosis School of Culinary Arts, because the food industry is growing and, the hospitality industry as such is growing so much that you require Indian chefs not just in India, but for restaurants all over the world. So, most of the Symbiosis institutions, in fact, all of them, are, started because there has been need of the hour. That is one. Second is that there is a lot of industry academia interface. So when we actually set up or establish an institute and we design a curriculum, the industry professionals sit on the board of studies, on the academic council of the university, to that matter, even on the board of management of the university. So they are like, a part and parcel of Symbiosis. And the best part of a deemed university is the amount of flexibility that we get in designing new programs, in revamping our curricula, and making them more industry relevant. And I think, that's the reason why we churn out students who are industry ready. So the placement record of Symbiosis has been uh, very, very high just because students are industry ready. So when companies come on campus, they find students who are absolutely well prepared to join them so that they don't have to train them or retrain them again.
Skilling has been a very important part of any society, and education is at the core. So, how are you mapping skills with knowledge that you impart to your students?
See, actually, skilling is a part of and parcel of education. So you can say education is more holistic. When you educate people, you not just give them the knowledge or which is relevant to the subject that they come and learn, but educate them for their life. So education is much beyond just imparting skills or imparting relevance of that subject in the class. Whereas skilling is linked directly to employability. So it's more technical, or it's more narrow than education, which is more broad. And I think skilling is more related to the pedagogy also, because the way you teach a subject, or the way you impart a certain skill is all about making the student employable. But there could be that students are employable but not educated. So honestly speaking, I for one believe that education is the hallmark of of a knowledge economy. So if you really are gearing, or India is gearing towards becoming a knowledge power, or gearing towards knowledge economy, it means not just skilling, but it means educating all the young men and women of our country.
Now, with the kind of services and educational opportunities that you offer to your students as of now, what more is Symbiosis planning to bring into this field of education to make education more powerful and empower the students also?
So actually now we are focusing on not just imparting skills or imparting the subject knowledge, but as I said earlier, educating these young men and women, adding value to their education. So in fact, we are also contemplating what should be the education of the 21st century. And when I personally look at it and look at what's happening all around the world, I think global citizenship comes right in the forefront. So are you making your students really global, making them global citizens? I think that's the core and of education, because it's not just about understanding your own culture, or understanding your own country, or understanding things that are happening in the industry of your own country, but it's about understanding the world. It's understanding different cultures, sensitizing to different cultures, and finally, becoming global citizens, so that you know children of other countries are also your brothers and sisters. So I think this will go a long way, and I personally feel that universities have a major role to play. And I think the peace that can be brought in the world is all about just making young men and women globally sensitive, understanding, making them understand differences in culture and diversity, and making them global citizens.
Well, during your journey, while you are leading this great institution, can you share some experience which have really touched your heart?
You know, actually, we know, and all of us in India know that inclusion is extremely important, because there is a part of society which doesn't have access to so many things that you have access to. But when you look at what's happening in the world, then you feel that India is far better. When you talk about inclusivity in Symbiosis, we look at the world and how can we bring in inclusivity uh, amongst all those students who are with us. Just to expand this, and which I really feel sensitive about is, people in Africa. There are so many young boys and girls in Africa who do not have access to education. Forget having access to education; they do not even have access to a good life. And all the way they come down to India through ICCR scholarships, or maybe the Indian government has some way of bringing them into this country. And when you hear their stories, you tend to believe that our boys and girls are far better than what's happening to them. So we in Symbiosis are conscious of this fact, and we have announced so many scholarships for African students that almost every year there are about 2 to 3 African students who do their post graduation, which is MBA, totally free. I mean, we don't even charge a penny. We don't charge for their books, for their uniforms, for their food, for their hostel, and obviously no tuition fees. But I know for sure that they will go back and become unofficial ambassadors of goodwill of not just Symbiosis but of this country. And eventually, when they become leaders of states in their own countries, I'm sure it's going to help India as a country, because relations between their countries and India will be strengthened. Because I'm sure they'll remember the kind of education that was imparted to them while they were in India. So, being sensitive to such things of, what things are happening in the world is what we should bring to the students in India so that they become global citizens.
Symbiosis definitely is a name to connect with in Pune, which is the Oxford of the East. And Symbiosis is also expanded overseas. We've seen your institutions in the Middle East. So, are there any other locations that you're planning to expand to?
We have expanded in India. We have a campus in Bangalore. We have one in Hyderabad. We have one in Noida, one in Nasik, other than Pune, of course. Overseas, we don't have a university campus, but we do in-service training to, the corporates in Oman, in Muscat, along with the Khimji Training Institute, where our faculty goes and teaches at the Khimji Training Institute to impart, value-based knowledge to the people working in the corporates in Oman. But of course, overseas expansions are not on the cards. But surely in India, we would like to expand. And there are so many state governments that now have invited us, telling us that they'll give us land and, wanting us to set up a campus. We've just established a campus in Indore, which is the latest one that is coming up. Of course, it's a India's first skilling university, and my sister is handling that. But apart from all this expansion plans, what one has to look at is, along with expansion, there should not be dilution of quality, and I think that's the crux of it. Like we get 100,000 applicants for a few hundred seats, MBA seats. That means that there is a demand for Symbiosis MBA, which means that we need to expand. But along with expansion, we are very, very conscious about the quality of education that we impart. And I think when we have to map quality against expansion, then obviously we give more importance to quality than expansion.
Doctor, can you also comment about on what kind of collaborations are you planning to work with to improve the education or deliveries in the institution?
So, internationalization is the DNA of Symbiosis because it started with foreign students, with the objective of doing something for foreign students, and now it's a Symbiosis International University. So, we have very strong collaborations with almost 53 universities across the world, with very good universities, and these are active collaborations, which mean not just paper documents, but really active collaborations. So, we have a lot of student exchange programs, we have faculty exchange programs. Foreign faculty come and do joint research with our faculty. We have a very nice program called the Study India program, where students from developed countries, which is US, Europe, and Singapore, or some other developed countries, come to India for a short duration to know about India, to study what's happening in India, and so on. We also have a global immersion program because we believe that our Indian students need to be globally sensitive, and therefore on this global immersion program that there are scholarships for students to go abroad for a semester exchange or for a short term duration to a partner university. The relevance of all this internationalization again boils down to global citizenship, because when the student goes abroad, it's not just a cultural thrill that he experiences, but he experiences the best practices of that university. He experiences students from other countries and so on, and learns the culture of that country, and just experiences this diversity. So I think all in all, internationalization does lead to global citizenship, and that's the core value of Symbiosis.
Can you also help us understand what are the opportunities for research and development with this institution?
The focus of Symbiosis for this decade, at least, or for the next 5 years, is research. So we've set up a Symbiosis Center for Research and Innovation, and we have established research intensive institutes. Whether it's the Symbiosis Institute of Technology, which is our engineering school with its MTech and PhD programs, or the Symbiosis School of Biomedical Sciences, which is hardcore into research in biotechnology, nutrition, vaccines, and stem cell research. So the focus has been research. We are drawing a lot of research professors from across the world to join us, and we also of course award and applaud the researchers within the university. So there is a focus of research because we believe that as a university we need to produce new knowledge, we need to find solutions to problems, and not just research in laboratories, but research which is more applicable to society. So we've recently established a Center for Waste Management and Sustainability, where we are looking at doing research in how to manage solid waste, which is a huge problem of Pune city, and the country as a whole. So several such initiatives where we hope that we find some kind of solutions to problems of community.
Uh, Doctor, I would also like you to basically touch on a very important point. Now, when it comes to taking up a stream in education, specifically in India, you have a lot of family pressures. Like either you will become a doctor, you become an engineer, or things like that. So, if you could basically share with us what are the opportunities that are available for one to get educated in, and how should one select these opportunities? I mean, should do you agree that you should go by your family culture, or you should go by the skills and the liking that you have?
So students nowadays actually are much more smarter than their parents, simply because knowledge is available freely. Uh, so the internet is the great pal of every student, and obviously Google. So if students want to choose a stream, the first thing that they'll do is go on the internet and find out more about the program that they want to do. Not only that, they'll go on the websites of several institutions, not just of their country, but of the world. They'll go on to check which are the faculty that they teach, and eventually they go and talk to students who are passed out of that college. So I believe that when students have such a wide range of career opportunities, the parents should not force or use any pressure, because parents know much lesser than what students do. And the second thing is that there's so much available that let the students actually even take the risk. Maybe if I join medicine and I after 5 years of my medical studies, I might just become a musician, but at least I have been given the opportunity to choose what I felt like choosing, or do what, or study what I felt like studying. So I think that's the kind of faith and trust that parents should have in their children. And I'm so sure that if you actually inculcate this feeling in the minds of your, um, daughters or sons, uh, I'm sure they will be successful and they'll choose the right path and take the right careers. And the opportunities are so immense that you can actually move on from one discipline to the other. So for example, the Symbiosis School of Liberal Arts offers so many disciplines across that you can actually take in some majors and some minors. So maybe a journalism major can also take biology as a minor. So why not? I mean, during your undergraduate studies you should have knowledge of just about everything that is under the sun, and then choose to decide what you want to become later in life. So I think leave it to your young boys and girls to choose the careers that they want to, and do not use any pressure on them, and definitely not your legacy. So if you're a doctor, you want your child to become a doctor, or maybe you just didn't get the opportunity to do Bharatnatyam, so you want your daughter to just study Bharatnatyam, and maybe she wants to play a guitar. So do not do that, and allow your children to choose what they would like to do.
Two quick questions before we conclude. What kind of policy or opportunities does Symbiosis have for rural India?
Oh yes, so we have established a school in the rural part of Maharashtra, a small village of 2000, which is near Kolhapur, about 100 miles from Kolhapur. This is because it's Dr. Muzumdar's village, and we felt that if we need to do something, let us experiment it there. And we've actually built a beautiful school which was inaugurated by Dr. Abdul Kalam, and students pass out from this school with flying colors, always with 100% results, and are doing extremely well. So many of them have done MPSC, and have joined. Some of them have joined the police services. Some of them have become entrepreneurs, and so on. We've also adopted about 23 villages across around the university campus in Pune, and we are educating girls in those villages, because we believe that if we educate girls, then they obviously their families will be brought up. And so we've identified the poorest of families amongst these villages, and have identified for this year 5 girls to whom we are giving total free education. So we are doing a lot by adopting these villages. The second thing that we're doing in these villages is on public health. So we have a mobile clinic that it's a mobile clinic which is a van, which is well equipped, and it has a doctor, a nurse, and a medical social worker that goes every day to these 23 villages, and not only dispenses medicines and treats patients, but also imparts health education and counseling. So we're doing a lot in these two areas, health and education, and have practically adopted these 23 villages around the university campus.
We would also like you to express what you think about women education. Is sufficient being done, or there are more opportunities to be explored with this subject?
As regards women education, again, there is a rural and urban divide. In urban areas, obviously, you see a lot of women who are educated and who are going through higher education, not only higher education, but right up to masters and few to doctoral level studies as well. But that's not true in the rural population, obviously, because girls are obviously meant for the farms, for the kitchen, and not really to be in colleges or schools. So I think one needs to really do a lot for women to educate women, because women is the nucleus of a family. If she is educated, then obviously the family is educated. So we in Symbiosis certainly are focusing on this. As I said earlier also, that in the 23 villages that we've adopted, we have identified girls, and we're going to educate them. In Symbiosis, if you see, the gender ratio is more towards women. We have 55% women staff and 45% men, and it has just happened. I mean, it's not because I had a Symbiosis as the principal director, being a woman, but simply because women find this as a better organization to work for. So even amongst the students this time, we've almost have a 50% women population among students, and in some of the courses like media and a few others, there are more girls than boys. One thing I can surely say, that at every convocation that we have, and when we have the toppers go on stage to receive their gold medals, there are always more women than men.
And I think that's a great note to end on. Thank you, doctor, for being with us.